Hello, fans of sports and fans of topics. Welcome to another episode of SporTopics, where we debate outrageous sport topics, hence the name. I got a great panel of guys here with me to go over a baseball topic today, since the season is just right around the corner. So we figured it was best to do this topic of which team we think that didn't make playoffs last year has the best chance of going to postseason baseball this year. So I'll go ahead and introduce my panel of guys here with me. To my left, I have Matthew Allen, who's a Lakers fan, Lonzo Ball.
Big baller, baby.
Dodgers as well, and UCLA. Matt, you ready to throw down?
Yes, thank you for having me.
Perfect. And to his left, right next to him, we got Luis Medina, who's also a Dodgers fan, USC pride, as well as the Boston Celtics. Luis, you ready?
Oh, Eric, I'm more than ready.
All right, perfect. So, like I said, we're going to be debating who we think, or who they think, teams they picked has the best chance of making the postseason this year. So I'm going to go ahead and give it to them. They're going to go ahead and say who they think and why. And then I'll leave the floor open to them to debate. And at the end, I'll be deciding the winner of who I think gave the best argument based on creativity, passion, just overall preparedness, as well as how well they attacked their opponent and defended themselves in the process. So, you guys have any questions? Good to go? Perfect. So, Matt, who's your team to make the postseason this year?
Alright, it pains me to say it, but the Angels will be making the playoffs next season after failing to the previous season.
Okay.
And my reason for that is they can overall, everyone can hit, they can hit for power, and they have great defense.
Perfect. Luis, who you got going to the October baseball this year?
I have the New York Mets. They have an outstanding pitching staff. They made some key acquisitions in the offseason, and they have a couple young guys to watch out for this upcoming season.
All right. Well, I'll leave the floor over to you guys. Go for it.
So the Angels also made some key acquisitions in the offseason. So most notably, obviously, is Ohtani, picking him up. So he's a dual threat. He pitches and he hits, which is kind of unheard of, pretty much. And so he throws 102-mile-an-hour fastballs on the regular. And so here's some just quick stats to throw out for you. He pitched 140 innings in his last full season in Japan. He had an ERA of 1.86, 174 strikeouts, and a WHIP of .957. And so WHIP is, if you don't know, it's walks plus hits divided by innings pitched. So it's just a metric of how many people are kind of getting on base per inning. And for comparison, Justin Verlander had, in his past season, 206 innings pitched, 220 strikeouts, 3.36 ERA, 1.17 WHIP. Clayton Kershaw from the Dodgers, had 175 innings pitched, 202 strikeouts, a 2.31 ERA, and a 0.95 WHIP. So Ohtani pretty much meets the same statistics as Justin Verlander and Clayton Kershaw, so he's definitely up there in terms of best pitchers in the MLB. And then also, in addition to Ohtani, Angels picked up Ian Kinsler, my Ninsler. He's a veteran guy. He's looking for a bounce-back year after struggling a little bit in Detroit, but he knows how to win, and he's got a great glove as well. And then they also picked up Zach Kozar from Cincinnati. So this he's a power bat. He had 24 home runs last year, and he batted .297. So he also has something that's really cool is he can hit the lefties. So he bats .337 versus lefties. So that's a unique aspect of his game. So those are just three of the major acquisitions that they did in the offseason, which I think is probably graded by most people as the best offseason acquisitions. Definitely better than the Mets. So.
We'll see. Well, since you brought up Ohtani and his pitching, I will do the Mets' top three pitchers in the starting rotation. We have Matt Harvey, a.k.a. the Dark Knight, coming off Tommy John surgery from last year, and a scapula injury. This spring, he's throwing in the mid-90s, so he's really trying to prove that he can still go out there, get hitters out on a daily basis. Jacob deGrom, 31 starts last year, and he has second in the NL in strikeouts. And I feel like between those two, as well as Noah Syndergaard, they can really put together a good rotation with the help of two other people, because Noah Syndergaard also, before he got hurt last year, had a 2.97 ERA, and he's only 25. Those three guys are 25, and I believe Matt Harvey's 26 or 27. So they have a young core. Those guys will be around for a while. You can expect to see their names for the years to come. And I believe between those three, and maybe if they get some mid-season trades, they can get a fourth, fifth starter. depending on how well Steven Matz does, that their start rotation will be pretty solid. Hopefully, barring nothing goes wrong with injury-wise. As well as going back with the offseason moves, the New York Mets acquired Adrian Gonzalez from the Dodgers, solid first baseman. Outfielder Jay Bruce, I believe from the Reds. Todd Frazier, who is a third baseman and will most likely replace David Wright. As well as infielder Jose Reyes, who's an extra guy who can be off the bench, a speedster, still a base or two. And left-handed pitcher Jason Vargas, who right now has a broken hand, but in a couple of months should be good to go after a couple of starts. How do you feel about the Angels and their division with the teams they play, like the Mariners, the Rangers,
Astros?
Yeah.
Like, how do you think they'll fare up competition-wise?
Yeah, so obviously we can pretty much guarantee that the Astros are going to win that division, so they're for sure going to be in the playoffs. So the only way the Angels are making it in is the wild card. And so I think that one of the reasons I chose them is because they actually have the best chance, I think, of any team in the AL of making the wild card. So pretty much there's two spots for the wild card, right? So that's how it works. It's two teams that didn't win their division that have the best record. Those top two teams then play in a one-game playoff to get into the divisional series. So the Angels are not going to win their division, but they're going to have, of the other teams, the top two best records. So the only other team in that that's not going to win their division that's going to be probably up there with the Angels is going to be between the Red Sox and the Yankees. So out of the Red Sox and Yankees, one of those teams is going to win that division, and whoever doesn't, it'll be them and the Angels as the top two teams. And pretty much none of the other teams are really going to be able to compete with anyone else. So if we go through the divisions, Astros will win AL West, AL Central probably going to be the Indians, and AL East is probably going to be Yankees or Red Sox. So Angels definitely will make the wild card. So
yeah, the same goes with the Mets. I believe the Mets have what it takes to make a playoff spot. It may not be the NL East because I believe that spot will go to the Bryce Harper and the Nationals. But I feel like they have a solid ball club that they can squeak by into the playoffs in that second spot in the wild card. Barring injuries or anything else that could possibly go wrong, trades, maybe mid-season, the owner decides, hey, you know what, maybe let's just rebuild now. But I believe that they will get in that second spot, and by playing the Nationals, the Braves, those two guys in their division will gear up their players for when they play other teams. Just help them build their confidence up throughout the season if they can get some W's with those games, as well as playing teams like the Cubs, the Dodgers, and also the Giants, who also have made some big moves this offseason. So getting all those guys, getting those games in, and getting those ABs will just make them better and better. So hopefully that they can do some damage out there. Will the Angels have any young guys going on?
yeah, so pretty much the pitching core is pretty young. So you got Skaggs, you got Garrett Richards, and then you have Chad Heaney. And so I really like Skaggs. He's coming back from injury, but he's a big boy. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. And he's a lefty, and so he's. I was reading and watching some video. A lot of people say, a lot of scouts say that his curveball is actually like rivals Clayton Kershaw's curveball. So that's like a pretty big statement to say. And so the tough thing is that the three of the top three starters, besides Ohtani, who is yet to pitch in MLB, the top three are coming back off of injury. So it's like we don't have a lot to go off of last season if we're going to use that as like a metric, but before they were injured, they're at the top of their game, and so their upside is super high. So pretty much their pitching staff is very young, and then of course you have young players like Mike Trout, obviously, who's just a stud. Has literally been an all-star. Since he's come into the NBA. He's a pretty much automatic 30 home run, 300 average guy. So that's like great youth. So yeah, they got a lot of young players.
Yeah, so the Mets have two key young guys. Ahmed Rosario, a shortstop, who is 22 years old, and Dominic Smith, a first baseman, who is 22 years old. Ahmed Rosario has been, according to me, a standout guy. Young guy, great hands, good with the bat, may not hit for power, but hits for average. Last year in AAA, he hit .328 and had a slugging percentage of .367. So I feel like between those two stats in AAA, and he saw some time in the majors, may not have been all that great, but just to get a taste of what's to come, as was first baseman Dominic Smith, who will probably inherit the first baseman spot for Adrian Gonzalez, who right now has a quad injury, but I feel like he'll rebound, get some ABs in, revamp his workout, and just really just take off and with a spot, because it's his to lose, or excuse me, his to take, I should say. So between those two, I would just be on the lookout for those guys for the Mets.
Yeah, I'll give you that the Mets, they do have a lot of good players, but like pretty much all their offseason acquisitions was like all old guys, right? Like
Yeah.
Adrian Gonzalez, Jay Bruce, Todd Frazier, they're like all kind of getting into like the end of their careers. Like who knows, this might be the last team that they play for, right? And so as much as I love Adrian Gonzalez, he's no longer on the Dodgers anymore, and that's for a reason, right? Like
Yeah.
he's old, and honestly,
Cody Bellinger too.
Yeah.
Kinda saw him out of the
Cody
scene.
Bellinger, yeah, that's good. So I feel like for a lot of the Mets, they have a good young core, but their veterans are pretty much not really going to be adding much to the team, whereas you would like that your veterans are leading in both their play and their leadership, right? So these guys aren't necessarily going to be leading in their play. And especially one thing to look out for with the Mets is, can they hit for power, right? So like in the last World Series, I think we can all agree that was like the most home runs
Oh, God.
I've ever seen in
Home
my
run
life. Yeah, home run derby. So like the long ball, they changed the baseball got
Juice
changed.
baseballs, yeah.
The baseball is different, so the long ball is back, and it's like you saw that is like reigning supreme. So looking at the Mets, they don't really have very many people who can hit for power. So I think that that's going to really hurt them down the stretch for sure, especially seeing the way that the playoffs played out this last year.
Well, going just based off of that, I also think because they're from New York. New York's a big city, big time goes there. So look at the look at the Yankees. The Yankees are stacking their roster up, and across the town, you see as a Met fan or in the Mets office, you're like, oh wow, I want to compete with them. So you may not go all out like the Yankees, but I feel like it's like the brother and sister type of rivalry, or brother-brother. You see your brother go out and make some big off-season moves. Maybe they may not have made any big splashes this off-season, but who knows by the trade deadline that they'll get some new guys.
So you're saying right now, they're
Right
not good enough.
I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting. It's kind of like the Yankees and Mets brother relationship is like if the Mets brother works at McDonald's and the other brother is like CEO of like Amazon or something, right? Like obviously the Yankees have more just money,
Yeah.
But I feel like they're an underdog. No one really cares about the Mets, especially on the West Coast. You don't hear about them, but they're the team to look out for. They're the Loyola Chicago of March Madness. You don't see them until they actually bite you right there.
I mean, they were in the World Series
a
few years ago.
I honestly
Cespedes
forgot
too.
about that. I was
Yeah.
researching and I was like, oh my gosh, the Mets were in the World Series like 3
Yeah.
years
But
ago.
with the whole new
Totally
roster
forgot
now.
about that,
Yeah, they got a couple of new pieces.
yeah.
So I guess I'll leave it for closing arguments, but I want to hear why not the Mets or why not the Angels? I've heard you guys talking about your teams a lot. I want to hear you kind of bash the other team a little. Why not? Why aren't the Mets going to make it, or why aren't the Angels going to make it? A little bit about that, and then I'll go ahead and close it out.
Yeah. So the Mets, my overall argument is if you look at the division up and down, they're definitely not going to make the wild card. So if you go through each division spot, in the NL West, the Dodgers are definitely going to make it out of that division. The Cubs are going to come out of the NL Central, and in the NL East, Washington Nationals are going to make it out of there. So there's still a lot of really good teams that aren't going to win their division. So we have the Diamondbacks, we have the Rockies, we have the Giants who just reloaded this year, and then we also have the Mets, who I will give in like they have good pitching, but they can't hit. Okay, so if we look at those 4 teams, the Diamondbacks have great pitching. They have Crazy Man Greinke. They got third baseman Jake Lamb, who just drops bombs. They have Goldschmidt. The Rockies, they got Cargo. They got Blackman. They got a ton of guys. Arenado, yeah. So they can all hit. And then the Giants just reloaded. They got Andrew McCutchen. They're hoping that all their pitchers kind of have bounce back years as well. So those 3 teams, or including the Mets, that's 4 teams that are pretty much vying for 2 spots. So the odds are not good there. And honestly, the Mets are at the bottom of that list of who is potentially going to be good. So definitely when the race for the wild card, the Mets are not going to be contending.
Okay. Well, I will definitely talk about the Angels now. The Angels, I feel, you brought up some good points. You gave me some good stats. But in the end, I feel like, obviously, the Astros will take that division.
Yeah.
But for the 2 wild card spots, I feel like possibly either the Red Sox and Orioles will take it, or it'll probably be Red Sox and possibly maybe the White Sox, depending on how good they're pitching and how overall their roster is. Because I've been keeping an eye on them, and they're doing some big things out there in Chicago. But all it takes, because you've been talking about Mike Trout and Ohtani. I know you've thrown some other guys, but Mike Trout and Ohtani are the 2 guys. Without them, no one's going to know who the Angels are.
Pujols, Justin Upton, Ian Kinsler.
Those guys are like, 35 and up?
How old is Adrian Gonzalez?
Yeah, but I'm not focusing just on him. I'm focusing on the young guys on the pitching. But like I was saying, all it takes is one bad pitch, one injury from Mike Trout or Ohtani, and then there goes the Angels season. So I feel like a lot of pressure is on those 2 to perform well. Obviously, Mike Trout, the god. That guy, he's not going to tank anytime soon. He's 30-something? 30?
He's 26.
He's like our age.
He's
Yeah, he's like
26.
I thought he was a little older.
No.
But I know he's young. But I feel like other teams are just gonna override them. They're just gonna take it to them. They're not gonna make even close to what people think that they're gonna make wins-wise. So I feel, like I said, just going back to maybe the Red Sox and Orioles, I feel like those 2 are just really going to be the 2 spots in the wild card. The Angels are not going to be in it.
All right, perfect.
I got one more thing to say about that.
Go for it.
That at least with the Angels, like, of course any team can have injury, right? So like Mets could get injuries too. So with the Angels, if they get injured, at least it's like they're in control, right? Like that the injury happened to their team, and like they're the ones that are losing it for themselves. Whereas the Mets, literally, they're not in control of their season. They can do as good as they possibly can with the team they have, and in the end, it's going to be good. It's going to be up to how good the Rockies are, the Diamondbacks, and who's the other team?
Giants.
The Giants. Yeah. So they're basically waiting to see what the other teams do because they know that they're not good enough on their own to be able to be competing for that spot. So the other teams will pretty much lose it, and then that'll allow the Mets to go in. Whereas the Angels, they're in the driver's seat. It's their season to take and their season to lose. So I'd much rather be in the driver's seat. I don't know about you. I'd rather be Tom Brady with the ball in the 4th quarter. I don't care what will happen, past season, but I'd much rather take those odds versus just having to wait and see and not really be able to do anything about it.
But Matt, I think we can both agree the Dodgers will take it this year.
That's true. That's true.
Well, we'll see about that.
So what are we going to talk about?
Exactly.
Well, that's a tough one because both of y'all came really prepared today with your notes. Luis, I know they were handwritten, but I know you did your research with your stats and
Take
everything.
from the heart.
Exactly. So I think for me it came down to the closing arguments, and I think with what Matt said with the divisions, and there's only 4 spots, and there's not that many teams in the AL who he thinks can challenge the Angels. Whereas the NL, there's a lot of competition over there, a lot of great teams. So I think for me, I got to give that, not just because I'm an Angels fan. I do respect a lot.
It's rigged.
I think I got to give that one to Matt, who I think did the best. So, but thanks guys for coming out. Hope you all had fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. And hopefully you guys will tune in next time for another episode of Sport Topics. See ya.